Welcome back.
Hi, everybody. Thursday,
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
Yeah, it's time for
Opposite Saxes.
We're talking brand names today.
I'll bet you couldn't guess.
Maybe you could pick that up from the background. But we got into a discussion about it because when we went to the grocery store to shop, actually, I think what started it was when we got to the tissue paper aisle. And you said, get me some Charmin and all. And I said, yeah, well, I got to get Cottonelle. And he said, well, why Cottonelle? Don't you like Charmin? Yeah, I like Charmin. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze.
No, that's my trick. Bless you. I usually.
I need a Kleenex.
Well, at least you have one next to you. I didn't have one at the time.
But do we all have a history of being attached to certain brands? Like you've always, I mean, like Charmin. You prefer Charmin. Now, I will say during COVID, you put your hands on anything you could get your hands on.
That's exactly
because it like disappeared. So you were using stuff that was probably yesterday was probably the bark of a tree, and they made it into they put it into a roll of and called it toilet paper. It was more like sandpaper, but there were a lot of off brands. Some people will say, "Oh, are you kidding?" The off brands, you
have a tendency to do that.
Well, I have used the house brand from some of the big box stores.
Yep, you have.
It's like peanut butter. I've had Kroger peanut butter, and it's okay. Is it Jif or is it Skippy? You would probably say absolutely not. I can't tell the difference sometimes. You certainly can't tell the difference in a store brand of ketchup and mustard and condiments, things like that.
I don't know. I don't eat them, so I don't know.
Well, that's true. So it's my call. But
look out on that.
Do we and the price of the branded goods seems to have been going up.
They all are. It doesn't matter.
So is that reason for people to say, you know what, I've always bought the branded item that I like, but it's $2-3 more than the house brand. I'm going to start using the house brand.
I think, now this is my opinion, everybody, just my opinion, but I think when I talk to some of my friends that are cooks and bakers and what have you, when it comes to cooking, it really matters in the recipe. So they will pay a little extra for the branded goods.
Well, you had a situation like that when you were baking. You were baking recently, and you would spray the pan with Pam. And for some reason, it's still kind of stuck to the pan, and sometimes would come apart.
Never used to.
And a friend told you about another brand.
Right.
What was it? Baker's something? Baker's Dream?
Joy.
Huh?
Joy.
Baker's Joy, which basically is again.
Are we going to get in trouble for that?
No, I'll let you know next week if the show isn't on is because we got thrown off by Pam.
But she was right.
She was right.
She was right.
It's got some of the same ingredients. Granted, there's another extra ingredient or two, but it made all the difference.
But it's ungodly expensive.
Well,
it is.
But having said that, will you go back to Pam when you're baking?
It depends what I'm baking. It really depends, because I do like
if it's just frying eggs in a pan.
Yeah,
then Pam is fine.
Right. For cakes, I don't know. I could go back to that.
But there are some people that just will not abandon a brand.
Right.
I mean, I know people that will sit in line for an hour for a Starbucks cup of coffee.
Oh, many.
And there are lots of other coffee places that you can swing by that also have a drive-through, and you can get a really good cup of coffee. But some Starbucks lovers will not abandon that brand for anything.
You're right.
And it's just like if you perk your own coffee at home, some like Folgers and some like Maxwell House, and that's why there's all those brands that are on the shelf.
I think when it comes to cereals, because we do cereals here, and I don't see a difference between the brand and the generic. The brand and the generic.
Well,
am I wrong?
You like Rice Krispies,
Yeah, I
If
mean,
you get the house brand crispy rice
mhm.
or whatever, I don't think it's the same. I can tell you, I'm a Cheerios.
Well,
I'm a Cheerios guy, and the unbranded, you know, O's,
mhm.
if you will, there's something about it. The flavor just isn't as
It's not as
tasty
flavorful.
as the Cheerios,
Well,
and yet
yeah.
you know that the house brand is not made by the company. I mean, Kroger doesn't make all of those brands. It's probably Cheerios that makes
Well, maybe not in this instance.
well,
I mean, you
it
don't
could be.
know. I mean, like the Rice Krispies, yes, they are smaller than the Kellogg's Rice Krispies. Flavor, but yeah, it's the size of the Rice Krispies. You can tell a difference, but for the price, and I put fruit on it anyway.
Right.
At that point, it doesn't really make a difference.
But you bring up another one. If you go in and you want to buy strawberries or blueberries,
Mhm.
you like Driscoll
Mhm.
and all. And sometimes there will be the Driscoll blueberries will be from a certain state.
Mhm.
You can look at the other brand that they have in the store and it'll say it's from the same state. And I contend that the blueberries are pretty much the same. And you say they taste different. Don't you?
Yeah, I do, but I don't like the way you pick out blueberries, so never mind.
So if I go to the grocery store to get
You
blueberries,
get little tiny
I
blueberries.
better come home with Driscoll.
No, because I've noticed even Driscoll's, and I don't know if it's the season or the farmers or whoever it is, but they're not as flavorful and they're not as large. And that can even be with the brand names.
That's
So
the
it
reason why a lot of
depends.
people say, well, then what you should do is go to your local farmers markets on the
Yes, that's
weekends
true.
and everything, because those are freshly picked
Right.
fruits and vegetables from the local farmers and everything. And you want to talk about flavor. The one thing I remember growing up in the Midwest, there was absolutely nothing. And even to this day, there is nothing that tastes better than a peach from Michigan. The Michigan peaches, for some reason, you bite into them and the juice just runs down your chin.
Well, how come we haven't taken a road trip to Michigan?
Well, we can,
Get the peaches.
but very often fruits you have to be careful of, because you don't know when they were picked and how long it took for it to get from the
Where it
tree
was, yeah.
to the store.
Right.
And it's been sprayed over a half a dozen times. And when you go to those farmers markets and you
We
get a local
should
peach.
patronize them
Yeah.
more. And we've been remiss in not doing that.
Yeah.
We need to do that.
But it's true. It's true with a lot of things.
What was the other
The
thing?
the latest thing was we've been thinking about getting a flat screen TV, and there's probably 3 manufacturers in the world of flat screen TVs, but they make it under 6 different brand names.
Right.
Because there are not, even though there is 20 or 30 different brands of TVs, the manufacturers, there's only a few. They just put a different name on it. But you have said, do not buy another this
Blank.
brand again. And it was just something about, maybe we just had a bad experience.
But I don't want to take a
want to go back
chance
to that.
when
Yeah.
you're spending money like that.
Well, that's the same thing with computers and printers.
Yeah,
There's
that's
some
right.
people that say
And
HP and
phones.
some say Brother and some say this brand and some say a Dell computer or some say an Apple computer.
Mhm.
And it becomes a point where if you're happy with it and you need a new one, you are more inclined to go
Mhm.
back to the same brand. But if you're not happy, now you're shopping around for another brand, and it
You're right.
could end up
Could be
being
a lot of money.
that the new one you get was actually manufactured. You know
I
who's
would be
also very
surprised.
big about that in that is refrigerators. There's only half a dozen manufacturers of
I believe it.
refrigerators,
Yeah.
but Westinghouse
Mhm.
and
Maytag.
Maytag, I don't know.
KitchenAid.
Yeah, a lot of those
LG.
probably made by the same manufacturer. They
Probably.
just have a different logo on
What
them.
people aren't as so loyal to anymore is clothing and shoes.
Well,
Yeah, it used to be you had to have this company and that company. Now, maybe the shoes they are for running, for sports, for
yes, yeah.
general wear, for the name.
But
They
what,
want to have the name, but not
what
the
happens
clothes.
when that brand name that you have loved for so many years just becomes unaffordable? I mean, when I was running, I was always a Brooks fan. I loved Brooks running shoes. In fact, there were even just a couple of styles that I liked, but a Brooks that used to be $80, $85 is now $155. So you say to yourself, well, maybe it's time to look at another brand.
No.
Nope.
No.
You would stay with
I
that
still
brand?
stay with Brooks, and now I've found another brand. But that brand is just as expensive, if not more than the Brooks. And Brooks, I can wear that shoe for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And maybe more. And I won't do that on the shoe part. The clothes, that's a different story.
I'm that way about Levi's for some reason. Good old Levi Strauss has been making blue jeans ever since man was riding a horse. And I've had Wranglers too, but there are so many different brands out there now, and any other brand I've ever had has never come close to wearing the way a pair of good old-fashioned Levi's.
When was the last time you bought a pair of Levi's?
See, that's the good thing about Levi's is they don't wear out.
Well, yeah, and I went back to a big name store that carried Levi's and other brands. And for women, maybe, I don't know if it's women's wear or men's wear or what it is. Naturally, it's been a few years, so naturally they don't have the same style, the same name, same cut. And so you're starting from square one. And I walked out after an hour of trying different things on.
Yeah.
And I walked out with nothing because it just didn't fit. But now I'd be interested to see if you ever go to get another pair of Levi's.
Yeah. Well,
what
the
if it
interesting thing
changes?
though is that those Levi's that I may have bought 5 years ago, maybe they were made in America. Now they're made in Vietnam.
Right.
Or, and that's the thing. It might be the same brand, but the country of origin
is different.
has changed.
Yeah.
And because of that, the cuts probably changed.
That's very, very
A
true.
little bit too. How are you with fragrances? Are there certain fragrances that you
Very picky, and I stick again to 3 or 4.
Mhm.
And so far I've been lucky, but I know 1 or 2 of them are not being made anymore, or I can't find them. So,
even online?
yeah, even online.
Yep.
And women's makeup and nail polish. They have those colors for 3 or 4 years, and after that you go back to buy that same color, gone.
Which is
Gone.
probably a reason to say when you find a color you want, buy 3 or 4 bottles. Yeah.
Or
So,
3 or 4 things of lipstick or nail polish.
yeah.
Although nail polish does not stay real well.
That used to be with the running shoes. I used to buy
Yeah,
2 or
that's
3
true.
at a time, because
Mhm.
then they, instead of updating it every year, they were updating it every 6 months or even 3 months, giving it a new color, a new this or that, and a new number.
Right.
It would be the adrenaline 2, the adrenaline 4.
But now it's so expensive that I think people are leery to do that.
Well,
They're just buying ones.
yeah.
At least I think most people. Maybe
They're
we're wrong.
trying to find the style that they really liked, and they'll go online and try and find somebody that's got them, and then they'll buy another 2 or 3 pair
Maybe.
to have it on the
Maybe.
shelf.
Yeah, but it just depends with the brands.
People are I think are brand conscious in everything from their clothing to their cars. Some people are probably driving the same brand of car, a new model, but they like Cadillac or they like Mercedes and all, and so every few years they trade in the old one and get a new one.
So overall, you think most people stick to the same brands of anything?
I think that people of our age, maybe even some younger, are more brand loyal.
Mhm.
The young people, I think they are price conscious. They don't really much care if it looks good. They're style loyal, but I don't think they're store loyal, and I don't think they're brand loyal.
That's a given. That way, yeah, that is
Yeah.
true. But I'm just wondering if some of people in even our age category have come to the decision that even they can't always afford it, that it's time to.
Well, if you can't
Look at
afford it,
something
yeah,
else.
then you go to something else. But as far as things like food and drink, I mean, there's guys I know that have, especially from back in the Midwest. I mean, there's guys that are still drinking Busch beer. It's maybe a little harder to find, or Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Mhm.
That's their beer of choice, and
Mhm.
they're not going to drink a Bud or a Miller Lite for nothing.
Yeah.
That's their brand, and if that brewery shuts down, then they'll find another brand.
Well, that's fine, but beer is one thing, and phones and TVs, washing machines, cars, that's another
And
thing, but
but the manufacturers of all of that stuff is out to do whatever they can to keep you loyal. Look
Yeah,
what's
yeah.
happening with mobile phones. I mean, T-Mobile and Verizon and iPhone, all those, they are coming out with more and more promotions because they don't want you to jump ship.
So are the car manufacturers.
Yeah, well, that's true. The incentive is stick with our brand,
Mhm.
and we'll give you more
Right.
incentives.
Right,
Because if you give us our brand back to go to another brand,
yeah,
it's going to cost you.
I know. Well, very interesting.
Yeah. But
It's all
one thing
very
is very,
interesting.
very important. This is a brand you should never trade in. Because we're
You don't
going to
think
be
so?
we're going to be here every week and we are branded opposite Saxes.
And we're loyal to
Yeah,
you.
go on the internet and try and find another opposite Saxes. Won't happen. You're going to have to stick with the original. And we promise you, we're not going to raise our price.
Oh, yeah.
But
That's a given.
except her jewelry allowance for the show. That might go up.
Oh,
But
I wouldn't say never.
rest
Never say
assured,
never.
you don't have to be worried about it. It ain't going to affect you at all. So come back again next week and see the original
The
opposite
ones and
Saxes.
onlys.
Right.
Bye.